Well, thank you for gathering here today. As everyone knows, we opened our Financial Empowerment Center towards the end of June in 2018. So at the end of July, we thought it'd be a good time to take August and assess some of the data that we've gathered and really highlight some of the things that the United Way and the City of Akron have done in the past year with regards to financial empowerment. So essentially what you have before you is a report card, and I'll have Angela Lowry is here, who's the Financial Empowerment Director. I'll have her go through that in just a moment. I also did just want to highlight, obviously the point here is to really make one-on-one financial coaching as a free city service to anyone in Summit County. So that really is the ultimate goal here. So, and we did make some fantastic progress over the past year. Obviously United Way is running the day-to-day. They've done an amazing job of really responsibly and appropriately scaling these efforts to really kind of expand what they're doing, but at kind of a responsible pace. So I really applaud them for that. And the city's done a lot of focus on marketing what this means and meeting with people. We work it into many things that Mayor does. We highlight it on social media. We've put it in our water bills. We highlight it in our winter and summer booklets that we put out. So we've made a lot of efforts to really market this, and we're really proud of the results so far. So maybe I'll let kind of Angela go into a little bit of the reporting and some highlights, and then we're happy to take questions or have a conversation from there. So Angela Lowry.
Sure. So as Annie said, my name is Angela Lowry. I am the Director of Financial Empowerment at United Way of Summit County. So I just wanted to go over the first year. We've, as Annie said, we launched the financial coaching in June of 2018, which is the big kind of feature program and partnership that we're doing with the City of Akron. We actually moved into the physical building. We're right on Kenmore Boulevard. It still kind of looks like a Huntington Bank. ATM still operational. We moved into that building in January 2018, and we actually have two other programs coming out of it that you can kind of see there. One is called Bank On, which is also another partnership with the city. We're really trying to help connect people to low-fee checking accounts and get folks that are unbanked or underbanked into good, banking relationships, because that can be really the start of really getting back into the financial mainstream. So we have Bank On housed out of that building, and then we also have the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, also known as VITA, where we provide free tax preparation both during tax season and then during the summer with amended returns and back taxes. And I just mentioned that because I think that's one thing that's really unique about what we're doing with the Financial Empowerment Center is we're really integrating all three of those programs so we can provide kind of holistic wraparound financial support for folks, whether it's getting them into good banking accounts, if we encounter during coaching that they're unbanked, helping them get their taxes done so that they aren't paying for high fees and they're not getting these refund anticipation loans and things like that. And then when people come into our center to get their taxes done, because everybody has to do that for the most part, we can connect them to financial coaching if they're about to get a refund or if they're about to owe, and really show them that there's resources to support them with either of those things. So I think that that's just kind of a cool thing that we're doing holistically. But speaking directly about financial coaching, we launched in June, and we had 3 financial coaches, and in addition to our hub in Kenmore, we had 2 satellite locations, which was University of Akron and Stark State. For the year that we were there, we were providing the one-on-one financial coaching, and throughout the course of the year, we served approximately, you can see there, 603 clients, and the coaches facilitated 1,450 coaching sessions. So it really took off very quickly, I would say. We opened our doors, we had a press release, and from there, people just started taking advantage of our services. Our top referral source is kind of agency referrals. So we spent a lot of time, even before we opened, meeting with nonprofit organizations, just all around the community, and building those relationships so that when the nonprofits find somebody that could use help with the finances, they can refer to us. Same thing with the public agencies. Our second most common referral is friends and family. So, and that's something that we really want to build, because if your friend or a family member tells you, about this, you come in with even more of an open mindset, I think, to receive the services. So the financial coaching works on 5 different areas. We work on helping people with budgeting, helping people get into bank accounts if they don't already, helping people reduce debt, improve their credit, and increase savings. So it's open to anybody who lives or works in Summit County. If they want to work on one of those 5 things, we'll work with them. It's a very data-driven program, so everybody that comes through our door, the first thing we do is an initial financial health assessment, and that gives us kind of a comprehensive view of everything that may relate to their finances, from whether they're insured in terms of health insurance, do they have a bank account, are they employed, are they using fringe financial services like payday loans or rent-to-own centers, anything like that that could be dealing, with their finances. If they choose to have a second session with us, we focus on credit. So we actually pull a credit report for them, which has their FICO score with it, and we can really help them explain what's on the credit report, what their score is, what it means for them, the implications, and maybe how they might improve that moving forward. And then from there, if they choose third, fourth, fifth sessions, it's very individualized. So working with them on what are your goals, what is it that you want to accomplish, and how can we help you with an action plan to reach that. So we really say we want folks to work with us for as long as they'd like. If it's after one session they feel like they've gotten everything taken care of, great. Most of the time it takes multiple sessions. And we track their progress over those sessions. So that's what you can see on that first page there in terms of total savings increase, total debt reduced, and some of the other financial empowerment measures that we track. So in our first year, we were able to increase client savings by about $202,000 and reduce client debt by $123,000. And like I said, it's very data driven. Every session we ask, how much did you save over the last time, enter it in the database. With debt, it's tracked through the credit report for the most part. So, we pull your initial credit report. 3 months later, if you've made some progress, we'll pull a second credit report, and that is where you can really see the debt reduction and the increase in credit scores. Excitingly, I actually have more updated data for you, and that is that now, in counting September, we've actually seen 708 clients, facilitated 1,855 coaching sessions, and more excitingly, our debt reduction has actually gone up to 289,000. So I think that's interesting because, thank you, debt does take a little bit longer, and you can kind of see as people start to work with us for more time, those measures are increasing. So I'm excited about that. On the back there, you can kind of see some basic demographic information about our clients. Again, that comes from our financial health assessment. So you can kind of see when folks start at the FEC, what is their average income, median savings, median credit score, median non-mortgage debt, as well as some other demographic measures there. But yeah, we really appreciate everybody's support here. We're always willing to come out to ward meetings, any kind of presentations with community groups, because the more we can help raise awareness, the better. And really in our second year, we're focusing on, we were able to hire 2 additional financial coaches, so we're up to 5 financial coaches. And we're really looking at expanding access, so expanding our satellite location. So we actually are partnering with 6 organizations now to have financial coaches at those organizations once a week. And those are the family resource centers that United Way is helping with, so at Robinson and Helen Arnold. We're continuing at Stark State and University of Akron. And then we have a site at Urban Vision in North Hill and Barberton Salvation Army, so expanding out to Barberton. So we're really excited about that and happy to answer any questions as well.
Does anyone have any questions? Please, right here.
Excuse me, Councilwoman Sims, your microphone, thank you.
Hello, I guess we're on. The report says the average age is 42. What are we doing to try to interrupt at an earlier age? Secondly, this is a 2-part question, so the average household income of the folks you're serving is just under $30,000. So I was at Elevate Akron's conference on Friday, and I'm just trying to figure out the numbers because you have 51% African Americans. And the question was posed about how much an African American family makes to a white family every $100. And so the answer was $57 to every $100 an African American family makes to a white family. And so but in Akron, it's $36. So is the number 29,000 the average? Is that offset by these other three categories, 37, 9, and 3? I'm just trying to figure out how we got it.
That's just straight data from the people who have voluntarily come to the FEC for services. So this is data based exactly off of who is showing up. Most are volunteering and returning. Some we're trying to integrate in programs where it's like you can, get benefits of X program if you attend a financial empowerment session. So some agencies are working it that way. So we're getting people in from a lot of different resources, but that is just straight data off of the customers that have come in through the door.
Okay. So I guess that gets at my question again. So we had 51% were African Americans, and so that's roughly about 307. So if that is the average income, according to the data that came from the chamber, are these 37, 9, and 3% offsetting that in a way that gets us to 29.5? So if you were to take the 51%, the 307, would that average out to 29.5?
It's just a straight average. It's not weighted in any specific
Oh, it's no
way.
weighted average.
Yeah, it's an absolute straight average, yep.
We could look at those numbers, though, because we could just filter specifically African-American clients, what is the average income versus...
Absolutely. You can extract any
clients.
data.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the work that you're doing could be very useful to the work that's happening with Elevate Akron and Opportunity Akron, if in fact we're looking at that data. And since you have a disproportionate number of African Americans, it just seems like that would be something that would kind of trigger us to want to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are conversations we can start to have. Again, we've been gathering data for a year, and now that we have a year under our belt, it's kind of something that you can kind of wrap your arms around a little bit. It's a good, at least, data point where you have 12 months of data that are decently reliable, as opposed to just 3 months when we first started, when Elevate Akron kind of first came out. So I think there's a lot of conversations that can still be had on how people can help use this data, absolutely.
Okay. On the age, the work that's being done to try and interrupt.
I know the mayor has a youth council that's doing some programming. The model that we follow with the financial coaching is meant for 18 and over, just for consent and like authorization to pull credit reports and all of that stuff. So our particular focus is 18 and over. To your point, though, that is one reason why we're partnering with the universities, Stark State and University of Akron, because we can, to a certain extent, hopefully get in before some of the habits or mistakes that people make later in life. Maybe we can get in early, especially since those students are going to likely come out with student debt, which tends to be a huge problem also later in life. So if we can kind of help them manage that and have a plan to deal with that like now, we can hopefully prevent some of those things. But in terms of high school and youth, I know the mayor is working on.
Yeah, I mean, the Mayor's Youth Leadership Council does some of that. But I think the point is like there's always opportunities for financial literacy, because that's what it's really promulgated as when you're young and you might not have a bank account, or it happens to be very small and maybe you have a part-time job or not at all yet and you're a full-time student. But the point is like the focus right now is that financial empowerment. So it's those adults who should be budgeting, should be taking in a daily paycheck, and how you best use that, what's your credit score look like, how do we help you harness that, and then hopefully that can trickle down in families and younger generations can see the support of that. But there's always more work to be done.
Yeah, this is not an indictment, this is just here we have, the average age was 42, the average age was 42, the average age was 42. So even if we'd have gotten into the 30s or the late 20s, it seems like we would have been in the right space. So I was just interested to see not just high schoolers. I mean, they're still asking me for money, but to look at even in our earlier 20s, how are we targeting this folks? And this is the last part of my question, Madam Chair, if you don't mind. So are the majority of the folks that are coming to you, they are referred from
So a variety of different, mostly nonprofit organizations and public agencies, but for example, part of that referral would be 211. So if folks are calling 211 for another, something that they're looking, utility assistance, for example, 211 will also mention, and also if you're interested, the Financial Empowerment does coaching, and that could be a referral. I know we work with AMHA. They have family self-sufficiency programs, so folks that are working with a case manager at AMHA, are also referred to financial coaching. Most of those referrals are not mandated, they're just, hey, you may be interested in this. So really just a huge, we have a relationship with Habitat for Humanity, so when homeowners become delinquent on their mortgage, they're referred to us so we can help them kind of be a third neutral party to help them get back on track and kind of negotiate with Habitat. So we've been able to develop, we probably met with over 60 different organizations prior to our launch just to help us get out the word.
Okay.
Are there any other members? Chambers that, please, go right ahead, Rich. Well, you know what, there isn't too many people from the committee here, so we're just taking seats right now.
Well, it's just, I teach ESL classes, my students see me often and make very poor choices with their finances. So
Mr. Swishy, talk in your microphone, please.
had a targeted population in terms of education. Most of them, like what Veronica is saying, are in their 20s and 30s, maybe early 30s. So getting to them, is that a priority for you guys too?
Yeah, I think we are still looking at, you know, how we get at different demographics. One demographic is the younger population, and there's a variety of ways, like I said, partnering with universities to hopefully get into that. We're also trying to partner with employers.
Right.
Now, with the immigrant and refugee population, as we
I saw you were at
yes.
Unfortunately, there was hardly any immigrants or
Right.
refugees at the global festival. I did recognize your effort
Right.
by being there.
And we're trying
Yeah.
to, we just started in North Hill at the end of July. So we've been
Okay.
really trying to work within North Hill to build those relationships with the organizations that exist. So we're at Urban Vision, which has,
Right.
serves a refugee and immigrant population. We've met with International Institute. We've also met with the North Hill Community House, recognizing that North Hill has more than just immigrants and refugees, and we want to make sure the service is available to anybody in North Hill. And we're working on translating our flyer right now, which I think is going to be key, because
Yes.
then people will actually, because we will provide translation services, but we need people to know that we will, and I think
Right.
one indicator will be once we get our flyer fully translated, people will know that we are open to anybody and we have the services available to accommodate. So
Right.
I think that will be a big step. We've just been working with which languages and getting the content and all of that, but that should hopefully be out in the next month or so.
I appreciate that because it's kind of hard to watch
Yeah.
when they tell me about some of the things they're doing.
Right.
It's just, and it's like, you know, they were in the mountains of,
Right.
the Himalayan mountains before they're here, and it's a little different
Yeah.
culture, so.
No, I think we're
Yeah.
gonna learn a lot too, and my big hope is, you know, we're slowly building in North Hill, and I think that friend and family, once we can really get in and build some of
Yes.
those relationships, I think that will take off, but we just need to,
Yes, Patterson
Slowly.
Park is
Right.
a city facility that
yes.
well used by the immigrant population, and you do well to be there as much as you can also, yeah.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit with Jeff at Patterson Park, and he's helped us spread some flyers, but then
Right.
definitely maybe even looking at doing a workshop there or something. that can-
Excellent, that would be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great. I'd be glad to help you any way I can. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks for this information. I would like to see some of the other breakdowns that you're able to do. I'm wondering, within your network of associations that do your work, do you ever provide information to help policymakers, legislators, address this issue? Like, we just had a house come in my one colleague's ward, and they wanted to change it to a single-family unit. Well, in talking to colleagues across the country and folks that deal with housing, housing is one of the hardest things to get. When I look at this, $29,000, if your rent was just $500 a month, and if that encompassed everything, you know, that's more than that 30% that you're supposed to be using for housing. So, you know, we have to look at when we're creating policy to bring in a certain demographic, that we're not creating an even greater burden and losing and increasing, you know, our homeless population. And so, you know, when I look at this, because one of the things that comes up whenever we have to talk to all of our community partners that assist, because one of the things that comes up, well, it's not a new tax. Well, no, it's not a new tax, but it's still a tax, which means that the landlord or that homeowner has to bear that burden or pass it on. And it increases the problem. So here's the things that are coming to my mind. One, working with legislators to let them know how, you know, the way you create the taxes and things that are passed, how they impact. And then looking at, even doing a dive, I know Clippingers did something, looking at Akron, the cost of living in Akron, and forwarding that can help us to show, you know, how is our water bill, how are the different taxes from school, county, and everything impacting this population. Because we have to find some kind of way of easing that burden. I mean, they can manage their money as well as they want to, but if,
Right.
yeah, I see. So you know where I'm coming from.
Right.
So I would like to see that. And I believe I was supposed to have a meeting with you some time back through Miss Emma, so.
Yeah, and maybe we can follow up, because I think, as Andy said, we have a lot of data, and so it's just a matter of figuring out how to break it down, how to analyze it, what data points will be most beneficial to, you know, that legislators want to hear, need to hear, and we can provide it, and then being able to have the forum to communicate it. So I know, you know, United Way has some policy objectives that we've really been supporting around EITC, SNAP, and kind of what they're trying to do around SNAP and things like that, that we are, you know, using our data to support as much as we can, as well as client stories. You know, we have quantitative and qualitative data, but I'm happy to always hear about kind of what other data points would be helpful and how we can best kind of communicate them and support them.
Because if I may, Madam Chair, the thing that hits me is the median savings.
Yeah, I mean,
That's the median. So that means, I don't know how you can have less than zero, but, so we have to understand the impact of the policy that we bring forward here. And we have to start to change that dynamic. And then my concern is this. We had some folks come in here recently about making us an age-friendly AARP community and whatnot. And my concern, because I see so many people dealing with it with their families. They do well, they plan, but they get sick and Medicaid takes everything. Or those who planned on their retirement being with them and their spouse. But of course, if your spouse dies, Social Security doesn't understand that you still have the same amount of bills, so they take half of your money.
Right.
So there is a tsunami, which I'm sure you guys know, waiting to hit all of our communities. And we have to be really progressive. And I think we see that on the national debate. I love the one discussion from, I think his name is Andrew Yang. Talking about, and he's talking about, they already do it in Seattle and they already do it in Alaska, real forward, where they get like a stipend. I'm not saying like a stipend, but maybe on our end we can look at, you know, if we can give tax abatements for a new house, maybe if someone is renting to someone that fits in this classification, we have to find out how we can assist them. I don't know what the answer is, but I know we can't continue to do what we're doing because it's going to hit us. I don't even know if we have 3 years. Because I'm seeing it now more and more and more. So I appreciate this, but I would like to be able to meet with you to get
Yeah.
a greater
Dive a little
breakdown. Because
deeper.
I want to know how many are above that age of 42. So.
Yeah, and we definitely work with folks on a fixed income and kind of see some of those challenges. And I hear what you're saying with all of that, and so I'd happy to discuss that further and look at the data and break it down a little bit more.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councilman Fusco.
Yes, thanks. Thanks for collecting all this information, doing all this really good work here. And it sounds as though, I think you're already doing this in terms of, when you mentioned 211, working with them, and 60 different organizations. But I guess my question is the continuum of care. They're extremely strong here in the city of Akron, I believe, and they do a lot of good work. But perhaps meeting with them on an occasional basis even, you know, there's a lot of firepower there. And I would think that they would have a good handle on, you know, that space between whenever something really bad happens and a family has to make some really drastic decisions. You know, and like I said, there's a number of organizations out there that, it sounds like you probably already talked to them, but working with them might be a good preventative kind of thing. I don't know. I mean, that's what you're doing is preventative. I understand that, but.
Yeah, I don't think you presented the entire COC yet, but there's definitely some heavily integrated partners in housing, because that's a really good point of entry for a lot of people. So there's definitely some partnerships there already that are pretty strong.
Yeah, we're lucky with United Way, you know, with that merger with InfoLine, Joe Scalise and that whole department is United Way, so we are able to really work very closely with them. We haven't presented to the whole group, which is a great point, and I can bring that up with Joe.
COC would, that's a good one. Thanks. Thanks for everything you do.
Anyone else? Councilwoman Sims.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just so that I probably was one of the biggest cheerleaders even when we cut the ribbon, so looking forward to the satellite sites. So just a couple of more questions, just for point of clarity. On the 603, are those unduplicated?
Those are unduplicated.
Unduplicated. So when I look over here in the bottom right-hand corner on that same side, where you have the total savings increase and the total debt reduction, is the increase, the debt reduction, is that in the savings number?
No, they're separate, but
So-
a person, like if I come in and, you know, my second session and I have saved $100, then I'll put that in. And if I come in my third session, I've saved another $100, that also gets, so that is how that total savings increase, and the debt is a separate category.
So is the 182, where it says the financial power outcomes, is this 182 related to the 202?
It's related in a certain way.
But it's not a direct line?
Not a direct line. So anytime someone actually achieves one of those outcomes, that's how we count that. So if I've increased my savings by 2%, that is going to be one financial empowerment outcome, and then whatever the amount is of my savings would go to the increase in savings.
So this is my last, that helps me a whole bunch. So is the savings, as you tabulate it, is it compound or is it just a point in time? So I come in June, I saved $100. Do you look back to see if I still have the $100, or I tell you this month I saved $100? Is that how we do it?
You tell me this month I saved $100, that goes in. Next month, if you've saved another $100, then I put another $100 in. So it kind of builds over the course of the coaching relationship, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand it, because I put money in and I take it out too.
Right.
But next month I'll put another.
We'll do that. We do, it kind of depends on it kind of depends on when you come in. So it's possible that you've saved $100 and your next coaching session is within a month and you took it out but then put it back in. But in that next month, we're really just looking at points in time.
Points in time,
Yeah.
so.
So if you still have that $100, we'll put it in. If you
That's
took it all
cool.
out, then we'll put it down to zero again. So we just kind of update it at each point in time that we see the coaching client.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Swift,
Just one quick comment. You guys are so critically needed and so on point, and it sounds like you are so competent at what you're doing, and really grateful that this service is being provided. And I'm looking forward to, in some ways, we could be helping you expand. Keep us in mind.
Anyone else?
Just last comment. And so, because of the condition of some of our families in our community, this is in no way an indictment of the work that you've been done. I think that healthy, real discussion around the issue, so we're just not have numbers and really not impacting lives, is very important. So again, I just wanted to reiterate, in light of some of the conditions of our families, African Americans in particular in the city, to see real stuff really happening that can really help is really helpful. To placate it and not ask you questions would not be helpful to me. So I want to continue to be your cheerleader and continue to help you find different avenues to access different folks, because I'd imagine disproportionately the number of folks that you get referrals from are probably from folks who are looking for emergency services and or from AMHA. And so maybe perhaps it's looking at some of our churches, like YEPA, Youth Excellence in Performing Arts Workshop, who works with the young folks year-round. Maybe that's a part of, you know, their financial empowerment, just finding different avenues by which we can impact earlier and to make sure, because if people aren't really saving long-term, if they're coming in and, you know, I got $100 this week, but I spent it and I'm $100, counting point in time, I don't think really gets at where we really want to be. We want to see people financially liberated, if you will, and developing really good habits of saving that continues beyond month to month to month. I think that's why I would venture to say that's the reason why we even endeavor to partner, because that's the idea. And so,
And I
again,
think
thank you
bring
for...
in, of course, you bring in definite limitations, and I'm not going to say that there are definitely times when people go down when they're working with us, and because life happens. So either they had to spend whatever savings that they were able to save, which in one case is a little bit of a success.
Yeah.
Even though you had to spend it, at least you had
Had it to spend,
right?
yes.
So we don't mark that against people, but you're right. There's limitations in terms of the data part, and people's credit scores. Sometimes a new delinquent, you know, account pops up, and
Right.
we thought we had addressed this, but now a new one pops up. So all of these things happen. So you're absolutely right. The data can only tell one part of the story, and the fact is people's lives are complicated, and these issues
Right.
are complicated. But I also want to make the point, because you bring up a really good point, we've actually found within the first year that the emergency services are not always the best time to introduce financial empowerment,
right.
because when you're
In
about to be
crisis.
evicted,
Right.
you're not really wanting to
Right.
talk about budgeting in
Right.
that particular moment, because there's a lot of things going on. So we really are looking more towards when we can meet people when they're ready, because a lot of this is hard, it's behavioral, it's stressful.
Right.
And so if you're already dealing with so many other stresses, it may not be the best time. And I think the faith
Right.
community is a great avenue for that too.
Thank you.
And really, that is the distinct difference between empowerment and just mere financial literacy. It's really how do we actually cause behavior change that becomes sustainable and long-term. And I think that's where the one-on-one coaching makes all the difference in the world, as opposed to sitting through a financial literacy class. So that is the ultimate goal, but I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, so.
Angela, I want to thank you. I had the good fortune of being able to sit in when Angela came to the city of Akron, and I felt bad taking a seat because I thought I was financially very savvy, but I just wanted to see, would this be appropriate to bring to a ward meeting or not, you know? And after I learned so much in that amount of time, I did bring it, and you know, you're right. It was a lot of my seniors have found themselves in a position now that is so different than what they had saved for what they had thought about. And it's an easy sell for me because it's one-on-one, you know. And I'm going to, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to mention that 2 years ago, we had our daughter. I thought the nicest gift I could possibly give her was some financial counseling. So my husband and I put forth $1,200 for financial counseling. It wasn't free. This is free, and as testimony will tell you, it can work. You know, it all depends. And I think the important thing is, especially if you're married, if your partner's on board with it. I think it's very difficult to go in with just one of the partners going in. It's like going on that diet, and you have to cook special for the other one, you know. So I think in a year's time, what you have provided here for us, and I believe Councilman Swirsky said, it's such a need that we keep saying, yeah, but what about this and what about that? Because, you know, we're putting a Band-Aid on a very large wound, but I think, not to minimize at all what you have done, so please hear that. And I think if we have any good ideas of where this can be used, I have taken it many places, because I think it's the nicest gift I could possibly give someone, is to help them get financially stable. And even though yeah, I looked at these statistics back here with the client race, I thought, but anybody can use this, just about anybody. We can't assume just because you live here that you're financially stable, you know. So having said that, Angela, thank you so much for the time that you have devoted here today to us. And thank you for all the people that made a commitment to show up for this. Really appreciate it. Anything else? No?
Thank you.
Okay, well, the budget and finance then is over. I don't know if we even called it.